time where the movie started, facing at a photo they've taken. Space tree flying through the skies and battles happen everywhere.
Thanks for joining me, everyone. Here we have another Mythic Legions from the Four Horsemen. This is Bolthor, the Tower. So here's a little bio of him. You can freeze that and read that on your leisure. But just like Kurzog, comes in the same type of box with the exquisite artwork. And then here's a little bit of something about the whole mythos of Mythic Legions. If you want to, sorry, my light is shining on that. If you want to freeze that and read that, you can. But this is the same box art that they use for all these ogres. And here's their this clan shield. But why don't we open them up and take a look? So let's go over his accessory. So just like Kurzog, the ogre, he comes with a single weapon with attachments. So he has this axe, which again is nicely detailed, nicely painted, and just like with all these Mythic Legions weapons and figures, they're very modular. So again, you got the head of the axe, you got this shorter piece right here that can be removed, and if you want to, you can make a really long kind of halberd type axe or spear. You can see that that stands much taller than he does. So it's just a nice little thing to have. I haven't decided what length I would use him with. I don't think I'd use such a small axe for him since he's such a big character. Unless he's fighting the ogre, you know, it would be hard for him to kind of, well, I guess he could hit the people who are this tall. So maybe I will use this. So I heated this character up before I started this review, unlike for what I did with the Kurzog ogre. So he's a little bit more easy to pose and to put the weapons in his hands. But because it's cold in my house, this figure is already starting to cool down a little bit. Let me see if I can pop this in. There we go. So let's take a look at this guy. So again, details on this guy are pretty amazing. Let's take a closer look. So he comes with this, we've kind of seen a miniature version of this head sculpt again with the regular size Mythic Legions. And just with any of these Mythic Legions, these horns are posable. So you can end up removing them or, you know, putting them in a different position, which gives each of these characters a different look. So you could actually buy several of these Bolthars and have a whole bunch of Bolthor the Tower type barbarians in your collection. Just like Kurzog, they have the very similar body. So all the sculpting details in the body, except for in the hands and the face and the feet, are going to be exactly the same. One thing I've never liked about the Mythic Legion sculpting is this part. This part always looked weird to me. And that holds true for even the Type 1 bodies. Like I stated before in the previous video, This is basically a really large Type 1 body, but the proportions are a little bit better, especially for the feet. Maybe not this foot because he's wearing boots. These boots are kind of modeled after the orcish boots for the Type 1 body. But you can see the details. You know, he's got these like horns coming out of his boots. They're nicely painted. Everything, again, with Mythic Legions, even though their articulation is a little bit antiquated, it serves its purpose for the most part. But you're really buying these for the sculpt and the paintwork. So he's got this faux fur. He's got the bones just like Kurzog did on his girdle. Everything is just nicely painted. And I'm pretty sure you could probably, just like with the Type 1 bodies, remove the top half and the bottom half and remove this girdle if you wanted to. But I don't really see why you would, other than to put it on a different body. So you can see this joint down here again is nicer than the Type 1 body, where it's shaped a little bit better. And they're able to do that just because there's a little bit more room with the plastic, and it's forgiving to have such joints of this size to have the same kind of range of motion. So those are his bracelets. They look very leather-like, but this is all plastic. So why don't we go into articulation as he falls down. All right, so the head is on a ball peg, so he rotates very well. And as stated before, these things are basically plugged in there, so you can even have it completely off. You could have one on, you could have both on, but they do rotate. His arms are in shoulder sockets like this. There's no butterfly joint, but they can raise past 90 degrees, which is excellent. Remember to heat your joints so that you don't break your figure. And the shoulder joint goes, whole 360. His elbows are on a single ball joint or a single hinged elbow, so it can go side to side like this. It can go a little less than 90 degrees in terms of bend, and goes back that much. The same is true for the other arm. His wrists, again, you gotta warm up. You can actually pull out the wrist if you heat it up, and this bracelet here is a removable piece, but the wrist can turn this way because it's just a peg that goes in there. And they bend back and forth, so it can bend that much inward and about that much outward. Now, really what they should be doing for these Mythic Legions, for the most part, since they're all carrying weapons, they should really have or at least for one of the wrists, have an up-down so that they can hold their weapons and position them a little bit better. So he has a ball joint here in the waist, which allows him to bend that much to the left, that much to the right. You can kind of see the ball joint is probably covered by this fur. The fur kind of sits in there, but he can bend this much forward and this much back. So he's got nice mobility there. I kind of showed you the hips before. I didn't really warm up the hips because the fur is there, and I didn't dip that in water, but they move in a nice splits without me having to warm them up. In terms of forward kicking, let's take a look. I can feel some sort of, I probably do have to loosen these hips. I think these two hips are stuck together. They're kind of screwed together. So they want to lift together at the same time. So you'll probably have to work on that. But I can get them only about up to there. I can get them to move back about that far. His knees again are on a single hinge that you can turn just like the elbow can and bend. So let's see how far you can bend. I don't recall him bending that far back. So I didn't heat up his knees, so I just gotta be careful. So you can bend about that much before the armor starts getting in the way. One thing I don't like about this faux fur, just like with all the Mythic Legions, is it tends to shed. So that's a downfall of the faux fur. His ankles are on a ball joint, so they can turn really well. And then once you loosen it, you can point up that much, and it can point back at least that much, probably a little bit more. I have to loosen it some more. But these Ogre figures are pretty awesome. They're some of my favorite of the line. So I'm really happy to have them. I think you will be too. Try and log into, I guess, the Megalopolis page at some point in time. Four Horsemen will probably have an in-stock sale. No word on when it's going to be, but I think these are going to sell out quick. So just like the Trolls, these are a little bit cheaper, but I think people are going to want them. So good luck. Thanks for watching. So I forgot to do a little bit of comparisons in height. And on his right there, your left, you can see how he stands next to a typical Mythic Legions Type 1 body. And on his left, your right, that's how he compares in height compared to a Type 2 body for the Mythic Legions. And I think, the tower is supposed to be 9 feet tall. So he seems to be a lot taller than that compared to these guys. But I guess if you think that these guys are about 6 feet tall, then it makes sense. He's a good, third bigger than these guys. So if you were to cut their bodies in half and stack them, he'd be about that height. So yeah, makes sense. So here you can see the Kurzog and Bolthor together. Again, they use the same body. He has more similarities in terms of the body of the regular Ogre warrior figure, but has a lot more. They both have a lot of these nicely detailedly painted accessories. This guy's boots are the same as the warrior Ogre's body, while this guy, Kurzog, has his bare feet. They both have the bones in their girdles there. They both have this nice design, distinctive design in their in this piece here. The harness is basically the same, which is removable, but they are painted differently. And obviously the paint apps are a little bit different because he's green and he is not. I think I actually like Kurzag a lot more. The colors pop out so much better than they do on this human type skin. But I think you'll be happy with both of these characters. You can't go wrong. But, alright. Thanks for checking out the video.